Hi, everyone, and welcome to this week's Octant community meeting. My name is Jonas Rossman. I'll be your host here today. We got the Octant team here with us and wonderful community members. If you have anything that you want to add into the meeting notes, please do so. I've shared the HackMD in the chat. I'm going to share my screen as well so you can see the agenda for today. There we go. And with that, let's kick it off. So, Wayne.
Yeah, great. Hi. Thank you, Jonas. Real quick, this week we are going to just kind of cover what's currently being worked on, what's new since last week, and then I was going to hopefully do a quick demo of current master, but my screen share doesn't seem to be working right now, so might not get a demo of current master. Currently with the team has been kind of working on a host of things. I've been looking at a lot of trying to get some better design around resource access checks. Brian Lyles has also been looking into kind of how our informers work and how we track and keep track of all the information in the cluster and all of the workloads. And so we're kind of revisiting all of that. What we currently have has got us this far, but we kind of need to re-engineer what we have to take us to where we want to go. So, which includes in-cluster work and restricted clusters and things like that. So, there's a lot of ideas and just kind of experimentation happening around that. We've been working pretty diligently. A lot of credit to Sam here to get the component documentation work completed. What this is there's an open issue for it, but what it is just it's a nice formatted HTML view of all of our components that include example Go code as well as the example JSON output that you can expect, and a little preview of what the component looks like when it's in the browser. This would be really nice for plugin authors to be able to kind of browse what components we have and what they can expect them to look like when they're piecing them together in the output of their plugin. It also allows you to really quickly and easily just kind of copy and paste and grab a sample and bring it into your code and modify it as you need to kind of do what you want. So that works in progress and progressing. It's I wouldn't call it fun work, but it's important work, and we're getting it done, and it's going to be really, really nice when we have it all done. The container exec dropdown. So this is under, I didn't put the issue in here, but this is under issue 901. This is something that we originally, we kind of had something like this in the first iteration of the terminal work. We removed it because we weren't using it a lot. But now we actually have some people requesting this feature. So it worked the way we intended. We stripped the terminal down back to like its bare components, and then we were just waiting for people to start using it and to provide feedback, and then we're going to add in the features that folks want. And that way, when we're adding in these features, we actually have some use cases, and we can be a little more considerate about how we're doing it and really think about the way we want to implement these things. So the container exec dropdown is one where currently on the terminal, we just default to the first container as long as it's not an init container, and we attempt to start a shell. The ability to switch to a different container is something that multiple people want. So that's something that Sam is currently working on now to get in place. There was also a request to be able to kind of link directly to the terminal window with a container pre-selected. That's something we'll have to explore. The way routing currently works within the application, things like that can be a little difficult, not impossible, but they usually require some refactoring of how we handle the paths and the routes, and we try to avoid doing things that tie the expected route on the front end to behavior on the back end. So I can't say whether or not we will be doing that. I know we will have a drop-down for the containers, but I don't know that you'll be able to specifically select Which one it loads will probably be some type of sane default for the first pass. Another thing we've been really looking at is my dog barking in the background. I ended up, now I'm a meme. So if it's, is it too bad? Is it, or should I just keep going?
No, I think you're good.
Okay, all right. As long as I keep talking, I think the noise cancellation kind of helps. So the resource viewer discussions. Milan has been doing most of this work, and we all have been thinking about it and talking about it. But Milan's been like heading this up and speaking with Brian and Ross and various folks, and just kind of starting to get some ideas and create some discussions around what the resource viewer like kind of just like the anatomy of the whole thing and our desired gathering use cases and how it should be, well, not should be, but how we desire it to be used and what our vision for it is and things like that. And we're just trying to kind of collect all these things together and think about them a little more right now so that we can work towards coming up with a proposal. Just to touch on that, the resource checks and the access checks, those will also be coming down in the form of a proposal for implementation. So that's been happening, and I think that's going well. I think that's going to lead us to a path of having some really useful visualizations of a workload, as well as the object status of those of all the resources within that workload, and really help us drive the navigation and how folks can get insights into what their workload within the cluster is doing, which is really the primary goal of Octant is to kind of demystify all of this and show how all these things are interconnected and show how they all work together. So, and then the thing that I've been working on for, I don't know, for like 3 weeks, I've just been kicking the can down the road, is the drain feature, which is just implementing drain within Octant so that you can safely drain your nodes. So that right now is, I have a branch for it. I just need to actually finish it. So does anyone else have anything they want to add to the current set of work?
Yeah.
All right. And so moving on to kind of, since the last community meeting, this is, by the way, this is kind of the new format I was thinking about using, was kind of like what we're currently doing, what happened in the last week, and then moving on to any more other type of agenda items like demos or technical discussions or further details. But this way people can come in at the beginning of the meeting, get the current, what's happening, what happened since last week, and then they can leave if they want. Quite a bit since last week. Editing got merged. The delete objects in a list got merged. So all of these things are there. You can click right on the issue and check them out for yourself. Most of them have little screenshots and things. We fixed a bug. Sam fixed a bug with the plugin using label selectors. Cache control. So this one's actually been around for a while, where you've had to kind of hard refresh after a new release to get the updated UI. And it's just like this undocumented thing that everyone runs into. And we're just like, oh, just hard refresh. And we finally fixed it. So what that means is after the next release and you hard refresh, you'll no longer have to hard refresh because the cache control is properly set. So this will be a nice change moving forward. We also fixed the PVC, unclaimed PVCs causing a panic. They no longer do that. And service accounts show secrets now, which is really convenient. You can click right through to them and get that information out. And then we also fixed the selector tooltips. Like we added in and adjusted the labels and selector tooltips. And so all of that's currently in master. Some of this just merged in today, but some of it's been merging throughout the week. The nightly that'll be available tonight will have all of this in it. So what I'm going to do now is stall while I try to get my Zoom demo working, which I'm hoping won't be too painful. So give me 1 second. This is the worst. I know for me personally, whenever I'm in a meeting and someone is like trying to get their demo set up, and I'm like, why didn't you have it ready to go? And I'm like, well, I have it ready to go this time. And then Zoom S's the bed. Let's see. Okay, share screen. Let's see. Yeah, okay. That's the share this window. Share. No. Share. No. Real great Zoom. 1 second. Okay, I'm going to try one more thing, and then if it doesn't work, I will resort to uploading a video of the demo, and people can come grab it off of the agenda later. That'll be the alternative here. Okay. I hate computers. So can I say that on here?
Yeah, that's perfectly fine. I think we all do. I think we all do to some extent.
Who owns Zoom? Where is it? Just Zoom? Is that the company that owns Zoom?
It's Zoom Inc., I think.
Yeah, good job. They're doing a good job.
We'll send a strongly worded letter later.
Yeah. All right. I'm gonna do the last resort thing. I'm just gonna restart Zoom. I'll be back in a second.
Sounds good. Yeah, this is a very, very common occurrence, of course. Happens every now and then.
I would have offered to share my screen or like just give control and have an instance running, but my branch is also just broken right now.
I'm here. I don't know what's going on. I just pulled the master and it doesn't work for me. Yeah, of course, it only happens at the community meeting.
Yeah. All right. Welcome back, Wayne.
Oh, thanks. Thanks so much. Okay. We'll give this one more try. Where is it at? It's here somewhere. Show all windows. No. Okay, well that's interesting. So that window doesn't even show up now. So maybe that's why I was having trouble sharing it in the first place. Okay, that's a good sign.
Want to share your desktop?
No. Okay. Here, I think I got it. Now let's see. Let's give it a try. Share. Nope. 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 I don't know what's going on. I'm trying to share the desktop now, and it is still just give me some error code. Failed. Oh well. Okay.
All right.
Well, we can
demo up on YouTube.
Yeah, I'll do an upload on YouTube. We can move on to the technical discussion, which will also be kind of. I had a terminal session ready to share for that. Did that work? No. Damn it. Okay.
Sam, do you want to share something and you're broken?
Well, Brian? Yeah. If everyone's broken, and that's fine. I will insert a video where it says that there is a demo, and I'll show off some of the new features to entice people to go try the nightly. Unless everyone says it's broken, and not broken here. So moving on to the technical discussion, the resource access. So this is something that I've been thinking about recently, and specifically around kind of what does it mean, like to see if someone has access to a resource, but also like what does that mean for Octant, and then how should Octant behave? Where should it get this information from? How long should we hold on to it? What are some patterns that have been emerging where in restricted clusters or in enterprise environments where someone maybe doesn't have access to things like listing namespaces, which we just kind of take for granted that you can list namespaces, or you know, only having the read permissions to a certain set of things and maybe having write permissions to to another set of things, but not having full permissions to any single resource. So I've been looking at kind of the current state of resource access. And what that kind of boils down to is this: we have this HasAccess check, which lives in the code. That's a per request check that goes and hits the API and actually takes the resource you're trying to access, the verb you're trying to access it with. So, you know, delete, create, update, list, whatever, get. And then we'll issue a access check to the server and then gets back a response. And in that response, it'll tell us whether or not you have access to the thing you're trying to, it'll give us a response about whether or not you have access to the thing you're about to try and do. And if you don't have that access, what we do is we cache that result. Well, even if you do have that access, we cache that result. If you don't have the access, we put you into a backoff. It's a logarithmic backoff that over time just gets longer and longer. And what we do is every time you make that new request, we check the backoff status first, and we say, okay, well, you've made that request too recently, so we're just going to assume you still can't do it. And that will just continue until, I believe it's about 5 minutes is where we kind of max out. And there's currently no kind of reset for that backoff. The reset is to change your context or update your context, or switch the switch the namespace that you're looking at. So the problem with that is, if you are in a restricted cluster environment and you are getting like tokens assigned to you, and so you're refreshing tokens locally, sometimes we won't see that change, especially if you're using like a helper within the config file that's calling out to another executable. Think of like AWS, auth helpers and stuff like that, or G-Cloud, right? It's calling out to another thing and then refreshing your authorization. To Octant, it doesn't look like the kube config has changed in any measurable way. There's no way to know. So, so you end up with this problem where you refreshed your access. You should be having access. We think you don't, and so you have to manually take intervention within Octant to kind of get those new credentials in place and start to see resources again. The other downside to this is that if you do, currently we just kind of loop through resources and check them in order. Think of list, like the list of all of your workloads. So we go through and we check pods and deployments, replica sets, and we're looping through these things. And if any of them hit a backoff, the wait time kind of stacks up. And so things can get a little slow responding, like getting data onto the stream, because we're waiting to build up this whole list. Let me explain that a little better. When you're looking at like the deployment, when you're looking at the workloads overview and you're seeing deployments, pods, replica sets, and you're seeing everything in there, all of that is coming across in a single JSON blob. So if we're backing off on deployments, and then we're backing off on pods, and then we finally hit replica sets, the time it takes for those things to start to populate after you have authorization can be very, very slow on the front end, because we're waiting for the entirety of that list to be created. So that's how things currently work. Some new ideas. So subject rules review is part of the Kubernetes API. It does some of what we want. It will give you a list of all of the for like a role in a namespace. So like you can do self subject. So yourself, the person acting on the API. It will give you a list of all of the actions and resources that you have access to. So, if you have get and list to these two resources and create and watch and list and get for another set, you get all this information back out of the API. So from that, we can kind of build a map of what your access looks like, instead of needing to do it per request or needing to do it ahead of time, we can just go ahead and build that map of what you're allowed to do within a cluster. And then we can rely on the error codes from the API when we want to do things like that you can't do. But then we can also prevent things by checking our cache, our list, when those operations are things that will block or hold up the generation of the stream data. And so it separates those two concerns from each other and allows us to interact with the cluster in the way that we choose to, either preemptively saying, well, we're going to go to our cache first before we make this request, or actively and say, we're going to let the server reply with however it's going to reply, whether it's a 403 or depending on the circumstance. The other nice part about this is once we have this kind of code in place that will pull down this rules review and build out this map of what your access looks like in the cluster, we can do we can actually do a couple of things with it. One, we can refresh it periodically in the background. We can also explicitly check your current token to see if it has expired. And if it has expired, we can then we can tell the Octant to refresh the kubeconfig to get that new information because you have some helper that's generating a new token. All of these things we can kind of shim into what we do now, but it'd be very difficult because of the pattern that I used when we originally implemented our access controls. So, and then one little side benefit of this is that eventually we can get to the point where we could pass this kind of map of what we have access to and what we can get to. We could pass that to the resource viewer, and you could essentially see, you know, maybe not the resource viewer, but some visualization tool, and you could see at a glance, like in a grid form or whatever, similar to the output of like the kubectl command API resources, where it shows you all of the resources within the API and all of the verbs they accept. Imagine that, but specific to your user. So you would see all the resources and verbs available, but only scoped to your user. So that's kind of where the resource access stuff is moving towards. The benefit here is that we remove all of the slowness that we're currently experiencing around restricted clusters. We start to operate in a way that lets us be more friendly when there are tools that are fetching tokens, and those are embedded in the kubeconfig, and eventually move to a model where we can start to visualize your access and not have to worry about doing something that not have to worry about trying to capture every single error or every single edge case of, oh, I'm making this API request to this resource. Let me go check and see if I can do it. The other kind of side to this that Brian has been exploring and working on is around our informers and just how those currently work and cache information and where that information comes from and how we read it. I think he's planning on talking about that some more next week. But I just want to mention that we're thinking about that problem too, in a way that we can keep Octant quick and fast, even if it's in cluster, and pair it with resource access so that we have this state of what does the cluster look like given a context, because it's really the goal of what we're going for. And then refresh that view or update that view of what a cluster looks like given a context in as fast as we can based on the changes that are happening. So that's kind of a overview of resource access and what we've been thinking about there.
Any thoughts, comments?
I think that's a great summary. Thank you. And I think this is really important because it's going to lead us to so many important things in the future, like, you know, we're working inside a cluster and hopefully get some more data to resource viewer and stuff like that. So this is really exciting to nail it down and make sure we make it work really well in all scenarios. So that's really cool.
Yeah, I'm excited about it. I think it'll be a good change, and yeah, be some work, but it'll be fun.
Also, Kubernetes, like permissions in Kubernetes is just confusing. And when we break it down into like on the verb level and trying to visualize it, it's a lot more work than like, you know, than simply just like, oh, checking, can I do this? It's, yeah. So it sounds simple when we talk about it, but when we get to the implementation, I'm sure it'll be more complex than we'd expect.
Correct. Yep. All right, well, that's all I have. Does anyone else have anything they want to add or talk about, or? Okay. Oh,
Actually, yeah. I had a quick question. Hi, my name's Matt Fuller. I believe I talked to you, Wayne, on Slack a while ago about plugin design patterns. But today my question is actually around embedding Octant. I'm new to a project that was embedding it in the sense that they were basically wrapping a command line call to the Octant binary. Because at the time that was done, I believe there was an issue with the logger interface being internal. And that has been since corrected. And so I'm kind of going through the to-dos and trying to actually embed it properly. But the issue that I ran into was I can basically make a call to -run and get everything running, but then it gets to the point where it tries to render the interface and can't because there's no dist directory. So my question is, do I need to run an npm build on the web directory, basically pull in the actual Octant code and build the web directory as part of our own project?
yeah. So currently, yeah. Right now, just doing a go get is not sufficient. You'll have to have the full repo because the web assets do not come across in the go get, and that's what's lacking with the embed, is that because the web assets are not there, there is no dist front end that can be built, and so when it goes to start up, it is unable to find that image, and then it fails to start. So this is something that I was just looking for the issue for it as you were talking. I couldn't. I'll find it, but there is an issue around embedding Octant and a desire from multiple people to do that without needing to have the full source repo essentially vendored. Like there's a strong desire to be able to just have you know the go mod you know, go get Octant and have it just work. Currently we don't have a good answer for that. The bad answer would be for us to embed the binary in our repo, and so that when you go get, you also get the binary. We're not against that, but we're thinking before we just do that, we want to think about the problem some more and see if there's another way, potentially even making some tooling that would just help people do that. So like you go get the Octant embed helper, and then that does some things that builds the asset and takes care of things for you, so you don't have to think about it. Something where it can be part of the normal Go workflow, but maybe that isn't putting the actual binary front end build in the repo.
Okay, cool. So for the time being, you would recommend actually vendoring the entire repo?
Yep.
Okay, cool. That's kind of what I thought. I just wanted to make sure I wasn't overlooking something.
Nope. Yeah, that would be the current way to do it.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you.
All right. Any other questions, comments? Then I think we're done for today.
Thanks, everybody.
Yep. Thank you, everyone, for joining today. Have a great rest of your week, and see you all next week. Have a good one. Bye.